Don't you know we all cheer for Magnus Danger D?
Beautiful viewers and lovely listeners of the Onwards to Victory podcast, welcome to this beautifully appointed goddamn storage container, in which is not one but two incredibly talented attention deficit disorder superstars, one of which has been touring around the country. Well, actually, both of us have, but one of which has been touring around the country and just got a 5-star review and is still running high. Find out exactly what they said in that review a little later on in the interview. But ladies, gentlemen, non-binary pals, make a big bunch of fuss for the man on my left, the fabulous Mr. Colin Ebsworth.
Thank you.
Woo.
Thank you so
I got
much.
to think.
I love
wrong
that.
button. Hey.
Specky boys.
Now, Specky Boys is right. We are both here, and I have a feeling today we're going to be talking a lot about
baby.
our goddamn fabulous brain disease.
Fabulous brains
Yeah,
in
yeah.
World War II.
Hey, you want to talk about? You're going to be talking some World War II stuff, if you
Definitely.
would so choose.
Well, comedy is not dissimilar to a world war in the sense that about 90 million times I've died. So
Hey,
thank you so much, guys. It's been great, and I just
thanks.
leave.
Oh wait, we got a button for that as well.
Sound effects, God,
Bing,
yes.
bingo, bingo. Man, we're going to have a whole bunch of these. Now, I'd like to start this one right off the bat. Now, Colin, if there was somebody trapped in a burning building and there was some sort of computer lock that could only be opened by having a few pertinent facts about who the fuck is Colin Ebsworth, what would they need to enter into that lock in order to escape the flames?
Great question. I appreciate you for it. Firstly, hey, what was the nickname of the cult that my parents were matched in, aka Moonies?
Oh,
Yep.
wow, your parents were Moonies.
They were absolutely Moonies, matched in a mass wedding. If you guys don't know about that, you missed the previous trauma dump before the one I'm touring
Yeah.
now. But yes, they were Moonies. I'd say
Did the little car?
what do you mean the little car?
Don't Moonies have like a little white car and a little like red? Don't they wear little red hats?
Mate, I don't have no idea what cult documentaries you've been watching, but you can kind of throw a dart at the board.
Everything I
and it's
know
gonna
about the Moonies, I learned from the cover of Dead Kennedy's album cover.
No,
Yeah.
so that wasn't. I mean, to my best extent, they love white. All cults love white. I have no idea why, because the amount of wine they go through is just like a nightmare. But for some reason, I've got the photos of Dad when they were married, and Dad's like rocking the white gloves. And I never knew if that was like a Michael Jackson thing from the 80s or,
Okay.
you know, because Reverend Moon was also a smooth criminal. No, he did go to jail multiple times for tax evasion. Yeah, but died with a net worth of $900 million.
Hey!
Which is why the ABC didn't put out my Conversations interview with Richard Fidler, because they were worried about getting sued and then told me a bunch of other excuses, and that was a disappointment. So
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
I know, but also don't
Richard,
say Free
we love you.
Palestine on live air, because ABC
Oh, no?
will blacklist you.
Oh,
So,
really?
I know, but fun fact for anyone who's doing that kind of stuff, always record your interviews on your phone so you can compare side by side. Anyway,
Oh, right.
fun little protest note.
Man, this sounds like we've just entered and dipped our toe in about 8 different anecdotes. So you definitely have got some interesting stories, some fairly spicy stories, because you
Some
are...
spicy stuff.
Well, for a guy who talks about 18 different things between the beginning and the end of a sentence, you've gotten quite a politically charged sort of a guy.
Yes, absolutely. I think that came from my raising of being in Australia, and Mum was American, right? And Mum, obviously, from the cult, there was a lot of isolationism. So when they came over here, it was just us. So it was a way for her to connect to her roots. I mean, we were just immersed in
Her
as
cult
much
roots.
well, no, just America. She was away
right.
from everything. We were living in WA, you know? So it was SNL as much as we could watch, you know, American movies, just immersed in it. But when you're raised in that environment, it's very tricky to not see flaws or feel flaws in yourself, because you can't have, you know, any sense of Australian jingoistic rhetoric saying we're the best and then be like, yeah, but also Mum shows me enough about this, like, to be like they're the best, you know. You can't. And so I realized
Right.
I used to think I was really I didn't want to be in Australia. I'm going to go to America and meet my people. And then I went there and was like, oh, these aren't my people. There's just a lot about Australian culture that I was struggling with. That I
That
hadn't,
you didn't appreciate
that I
until
didn't,
you got
not
to go
necessarily
away?
appreciate. It's hard. I hate that Australians have this view of themselves. I hate
What view are you talking about?
the potential of a, you know, we talk about a tall poppy syndrome in the arts, which is an immensely
Yeah.
common thing. If you don't know what that is, what I usually do with the crowd is about who knows what it is, who doesn't, and who didn't feel comfortable enough to raise their hand for fear of standing out, and they instantly like get it, right? And
I love that you like you're willing to take like a minute out to explain tall poppy syndrome, but the Moonies we just went like straight past. And go,
Oh,
like,
I know,
yeah,
but here's the thing. Everyone
We'll
wants
get
to know
around
about
to it,
cults,
sure.
but they all want to laugh at cults. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
why do people join cults? Is it ostracization and a feeling of shame? Okay, great. So let's laugh about them and make more people in cults.
Right.
When
We can definitely get into that.
Yeah, when I
because
really
this
want to
is-
talk
yeah.
about why are people doing these things,
Yeah.
and that was the big part of the show. You know, I had to articulate at the beginning of the culture, like, guys, if you're coming here to laugh at this, you have to ask why, because there's two people that come to that cult show: people who are interested in cults, but interested because we want to know: would you fall for it? Would you personally?
Right,
We
right.
want to know that. It's the same reason, and this always got to laugh, and I don't know why, but like the same reason men love World War II. You know, and video games, because we're like, hey, could happen. And women love serial killer podcasts. It's a way of safely engaging with something that's a real fear.
Yeah.
And then the other part has that same fear. It's a smaller percentage, but they'll come to the show to want to laugh at it, to minimize that fear in their heads. And when I don't give them that
Right,
opportunity,
right.
it comes back on them and they get understandably frustrated because it's the limitations of their understanding of themselves, not of the cult. Because the reality is, every one of us not only would, in a certain situation, but every
Sure.
one of us has.
Sure.
Because what are the dynamics of a cult, if not very similar on the Venn diagram
Well, it's-
of nationalism, of community, of all these things?
I mean, the social contract of just us walking around every day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same mechanism. That
That's
we're
all people want.
Yeah.
They want a sense of community, and we can rail about that for the longest time. And it's taken me personally a very long understanding, because when I was raised in this, we were raised not only understanding like, hey, mum's American and all the stuff that came with that. And there is stuff, if you don't understand, like my partner's American, she's been spat on. Mum used to get harassed in the street. People in
What,
Australia.
for being American.
Yeah, people hate that, but they hate their own internalized hypocrisy of, we don't like a people that are loud, braggadocio, seem like they know everything, but at the same time we ingest every part of their culture. And what I
Right.
realized, not dissimilar to the ADHD show, is that Australians struggle with Americans, not just because they're loud or whatever, because that would be completely like obtuse of us, because we can't go, oh, they're loud and arrogant and rude. Oh yeah, have you been to Bali? What do you think, we're sending our best and brightest over there? No.
Right.
Okay. Like, we have the same potential. We don't like Americans or struggle with it because of the way they so clearly believe in themselves and how that reflects on our own lack of the similar self-worth that would allow us to do the same.
You're
We
doing
see
it. There's a lot of holding up mirrors here. I mean, you don't like to just look at things. I can see that you're looking at things and the way.
No, I love
it's
to. That's
the way it
understand-
then the bounce on effect.
Yeah, and
of
look, it's
how
one of
people
those things.
interpret certain things.
If we're going to take it to the larger society, like people go, oh, why am I talking about, why can't they just understand? And it's like, well, if you get to an irrational place, you can never reel it back in with ration. You have to speak to the irrational thing that has gotten someone to that point, whether it's the cult, whether it's what they believe, whether it's
Right.
conspiracies, this, that, and the other. And it's all largely going
Once
to
it
come down
becomes
to,
a feeling, then there's something else
once it
that you have
becomes
to
a
look.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now wait, hang on a second.
we
hang on
can
a second.
circle around, but that's all I want to say on that.
Before we get further into that, I think we need to unpack, because we've already blitzed through the last two solo shows that
Yep.
you've done. I think maybe people need to unpack this, because you have a very interesting history as an individual, the way that you were formed into what you are now. And those two things, the ADHD show and the cult show, very informing as to like the kind of person you are.
Those were growth experiences.
Well, let's what was
So-
the cult show? What was it called? Where did it
The
play?
cult show
and what
was
was it about?
Me, my cult, and I, right? Sister came up with a title. Any young producers, if you are not writing 100 different titles for your shows, you are not doing the work. You need to write every conceivable
Oh
thing.
man, we did.
Because
we
the
took
difference
a road
between
trip.
a good title
Yeah.
is 100, is potentially $50,000. You know?
Correct.
Yeah,
Bingo.
that one's a great one because you're going to get a bunch of incels going, yeah, maybe we should reclaim. But that was those shows, and they were branching into me doing what I would say is a theater show. If you do a comedy show, if you do a theater show in the comedy genre and it's not funny, people will say it's not funny. If you do a comedy show in the theater, they'll be like, wow, this guy, something about it is so funny. It's like, no, I'm doing stand-up. And you were expecting verbose, giant, blah, 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 you know? And also way less people, because comedy is the biggest genre in every single arts festival. So you have less competition if you put yourself in a theater category. So, although admittedly this one is in comedy. So look,
Hey, nice
those-
work on that Martin Sims shortlist.
Oh, I appreciate
Yeah,
that
nice
so
work.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, Martin, oh my God. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
very nice. I was going to run on a big Martin Bryant riff. I thought you had said that.
No. different dealio.
I was like, I know two Martins.
We'll come back to Martin
One of them was
Bryan.
really good. Yeah. So those two shows, I've been doing stand-up since I was 17. All right, sneaking into venues and whatnot. And even before then, it was always a passion.
So 3 years now.
Yeah. As I had, well, yeah, it's 15 years for me now, but I appreciate it. That's high praise.
Well done.
As two people who look incredibly young until we smile. Yes. People see us and they're like, whoa, that testicle's having a good time. We're like, yeah, we got smile lines, baby. So those shows took a lot of time to get to, right? It wasn't just like I could just do them. For the longest time, my stand-up was talking about things and that. And I did that.
I got to interject in this one because this is something that I noticed. And I had a conversation with you about this when the Cult Show first landed, when you first were pitching it and I started seeing the posters go up for it. And I remember I was saying this to a bunch of my friends as well. I was going, oh, holy shit, Colin has found a voice. Colin is like, because the stuff that you'd done before that, I mean, you had posters and there was basically like shows that you'd done before.
Stand up.
Yeah. But it was very much the like, hey, I'm fucking Colin Ebsworth. And here I am in a suit, smiling at the camera and being like, hey, I'm Colin Ebsworth, sparkle, sparkle.
Yeah.
And then when you had this, you know, Me, My Cult and I came out, and it was a radical departure from that. And I was so down for it. I'm
people
like,
were
man,
excited.
go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. This is going to be huge.
But you know what's funny? I mean, I told people, it's not like I was hiding that fact. People could ask me, and I'm like, yeah, parents. And everyone was like, I want to hear more. I want to. And it was a level of self-growth that I had to go through because I didn't think that my self-worth was at a point as an artist where I didn't think that people would want to hear my stories. Like, I didn't think of myself as a story comic. Even though I could tell stories, it was something I felt like, oh, I just can't do that on stage. And what I realized was that it wasn't a lack of, you know, professionalism or my own experience and talent and skills. It was that I didn't feel people would want to listen. So it was a very long thing. It started with even this talk show that I did. The talk show was because I adore the format and everything since I was a small child. But the talk show was a vehicle just to get a 2-hour experience where by the end they were so ingratiated that I could do what I called Colin's Corner at the end, which was all the material that I would never be able to get working at a comedy club. And then all of a sudden it was working, you know?
Is that because you've set it up as...
I've set it up where they trust and like me and they're invested in the show. So I can't go on stage and be like, hey...
And it's personal material.
Yeah, in a WA comedy club. Be like, hey, have you ever noticed women are people? And they were like, oh, fucking you can't do this.
Man. Like opening up with a vulnerable thing right off the bat,
yeah,
especially in WA or in Australia.
Definitely. I mean, the amount of, even on TikTok, the amount of turbos that still got angry at this bit. One of the Colin's Corners talking about Black Lives Matter and stuff, and I was like, hey, how come Indigenous elders can't march in the Anzac Day parade? We let the opposing forces march, like there's Turkish troops that will march.
Yeah, right.
You know, and they go, no, they can. I go, yeah, they can if they're part of the Australian military, but if we're talking about who has fought, and I'm like, they fought, they died. Maybe they're even better Anzacs because they're still here. They didn't retreat, you know? And people got fucking wound up, right? But that worked. That worked in that environment by the end because and so when I realized that, I went, oh, okay, it was just dipping my toe into these new experiences. And then the culture, I was like, okay, how do I do that? And I really could not have done that apropos of nothing. It took all this time to develop because early on I was just writing jokes because I loved the feeling of it. But there's a very common problem. And
this comes from, you know, your upbringing, the whole SNL and
yeah. So I just wanted to write, but also from an ADHD perspective, comedy is problem solving to me. I mean, like I'll view it tick, click, click, but then I realize like, hey, I really struggle to communicate with other comics about that because I'll be like, hey, I wrote you this bit and they'll be like, oh, it didn't work. I'm like, no, you changed this word and it was a half a second long there. And they were like, no, it was just a bad crowd or whatever.
Oh, yeah, this stuff. Absolutely, I know about this stuff where you've just got a phrase and you can walk up to somebody and say, just hit this word. Just hit this word a little harder and just leave a gap here and it will hit. And it does. Do you think that's an ADHD thing? Like, what is it about that?
I thought so, yeah, potentially.
Just
because when I'm thinking about
rhythm of phrasing,
because we have so many different like thoughts running through our head, and they're all going in all different directions, and you're stuck in like a hurricane, right? But when we're holding things, you know, then we have this level of focus. Like I realized that my knee tapping isn't tapping because I have extra energy. My knee tapping is because it's allowing me to focus in a way that I couldn't because this is being used up. So when I'm doing this with comedy, it allowed for that focus.
Right.
It allowed for that, hey, I'm holding so many bits, but they're all going towards a single direction of getting this joke working. So I'm
Yeah.
holding, oh, hey, what did I say before? What am I going to say? I'm trying to get to this point, and then I've got to swap that in, and I can take this, and I like that.
It's a weird Zen state, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's like
I am
where
totally down. I
when
know
the
what you mean.
engine is clicked into fifth gear, we can go 100 Ks and it's easy,
Yeah.
right? But when we're
Yes.
not stalling, but the engine is still revving at 100 Ks, that's an issue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I figured out that through my transition was like, hey, I'm going to do jokes, and I figure out how the jokes work, and that was years, and then a lot of my material was I'm doing jokes about things. What do I think about things? What do I, which allowed for some political stuff to kind of come in, but then I was really still not working on the internal, and still having to do material that I didn't like. Like when I went to the States and was like, oh, I don't know about comedy. I realized I didn't like my comedy because every hour I would do a new hour at Fringe and I'd bring in more personal stuff or whatever, but then I didn't have the confidence to bring that into the clubs, even though that was the newer stuff and was the best, because I went, it's just too much. And now,
Well, that's the big transition, isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, there's the craft, and then there's and this is a journey that, like, I've seen a lot of stand-ups going up. You've got the craft, and you've got, your delivery, what's a good joke or not. And then there's this kind of wall, this Fermi paradox of comedians. We go, do I get my own,
But you know what's
find your
interesting
voice.
with the Fermi, what you've raised that point is, we talk about, do you make it past that the crucible, that wall of fire, the Fermi paradox you mentioned. And I think we can, but can you say you went through it? And I think the answer might be no, because in order to get through it, you have to have grown past that person you were. So the Magnus before and the Magnus after isn't the same one. So I don't think you broke through the Fermi paradox. You evolved through it.
Well,
and
you're
now
getting a
you're
ship
different.
of Theseus. We're getting some big
That's
ass,
what I
like,
think-
big brain concepts.
Because
in
if I went back to that, I in a very real sense.
you don't bring
I don't
old
think-
Colin with you.
No, and
No.
old Colin will come in if I'm doing an impression or a character. But the thing is, my issue wasn't
Right.
bringing back old Colin. My issue was bringing up the one that I knew I could do when I'm relaxed with friends, or when one of the best, probably the best single bit of feedback I've ever gotten that made me go like, wow, this was amazing. I was doing a show recently, and this was after these kind of revelations, specifically the ADHD show, when I figured out like a trajectory of what I want my art to do.
For reference here, this the ADHD show, which is currently running now, that you just got a 5-star review for.
Very excited.
Yeah,
That
which
was
is
incredibly heartwarming. I was very
Yeah.
grateful to share that with you guys. That was lovely.
It happened right before we
here,
started filming,
which has been, that was cool. But it's maybe he's born with it, maybe it's ADHD. I premiered it last year at Fringe, and it had an overwhelming response.
right.
Amazing. Sold out, and then sold out the encore, and then Perth Comedy did the same thing, and then I finally got to do the Rechabite main hall, which I love the team there, and
The
Marcus, the
Rechabites,
owner, has
yeah.
been so phenomenally supportive of my career.
Yeah.
Um,
How great is Marcus really does like he likes good WA boys.
yeah,
And
and
girls.
between
And non-binaries.
oh, they're
And just people.
just supportive in general.
Yeah.
Like that's a great place, but I'd never managed to sell out the main hall. I'd gotten 220 in there.
Right.
But then this was like it sold out again, and
Yeah.
then Melbourne Fringe, Bunbury, Perth again, and now this is
that place is
doing
amazing when all of the mezzanines
oh, it's the
are
best.
full.
I
It's
tell
like
everyone, if you're
Mad
like a
Max, it's
quality
beautiful.
touring act, like please get in touch with the Rechabite. That venue
Absolutely.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
So the response from that was really, really great. But that's what we're talking about when I say the ADHD show.
Yeah. Well, okay. When we're talking about the ADHD, because this is a touchstone for me. This is something I like talking about. It's something I've, dealt with and have a lot of research into. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are when it comes to the ADHD show, because clearly it took off and it resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they're not just like ADHD. It's not
no,
like you
no,
just
we're
have
getting,
a bunch of
we're getting
neurospices.
everyone in. I get like
Everybody.
principals from like private schools coming in being like, hey, we like didn't do, parents coming in and not to bring the mood down, but like there isn't a single show where people aren't waiting outside, but it's very common where people will kind of break in just to come back when we're doing
Yeah.
the bump out and swapping over the next show. We had it just the other day, and it's it's always incredibly genuine and emotive, but sometimes some of the stuff you'll hear is it's
Yeah.
always thank yous, which is lovely, but some of the stuff is like, that was great, thank you, my kids got this and I appreciate you and then sometimes it's like, thank you so much, if I had have like understood that, my son might still be here, and it's like, fuck.
Holy shit.
Stuff like that, and that is
Wow.
not uncommon. We had a woman the other day who came up and was like, thank you so much, like my son's 22 and the education system just destroyed him, like he just broke him, and so now I'm like homeschooling my younger child, but like everything you spoke about was exactly what they experienced. They just You know, so I think about, I don't think I'm this unique case. I think I just got lucky because there was, not lucky, but there was certain stuff I was able to take that allowed me to reflect in a way, maybe, you know, I think the idea that we were raised in a cult made me acutely aware that there was differences that I had to understand because we didn't have that sense of community. And, you know, you grow up thinking, hey, my parents are trying. And now I'm like coming around to the other idea about, yeah, they're trying, but also there's victim seeking behavior. And at one point they made decisions against their own best interest consistently. And then they brought kids in and did that for them. And, you know, how do I reconcile those kind of things? So that there was a lot of
unpack there.
A lot of stuff I had to reflect on through, and I try and bring them up in the show, like through certain people who were able to offer me a level of support. But that was the journey. Like it took me to understand, hey, I'm making jokes about thing. And then I had to grow my self-worth and figure out all these things that I wasn't aware of. And that's what allowed me to go from, hey, I'm making jokes about other things because I need a level of objectivity or distance from the audience, and to be able to go, no, I can talk about this internal stuff. People are going to want to listen.
They do want to know.
Yeah. And ironically, it's that thing we all know, the less you care. Like right now, stand-up comedy is close to like a take it or leave it, because I've found the art form of stand-up now to be limiting compared to what I wanted to do, because you go to, hey, you can do a
what is it about that?
Well, you can do
limits
you can do a showcase spot, let's say, at a festival or whatever, and that's you know
Sure.
just meant to do your best. But then in terms of the person or the things that I want to get across the audience, the connections I want to forge and where I want to take them, a club set is just a showcase. Like they're coming for comedy, they're not coming for Magnus or Colin, you know. So I really like these hour-long things, and what's really happened now is I have this you know, self-worth
being a
now.
storyteller.
Yeah,
now you've
but-
got an hour,
and if they
to
don't-
make a setup.
Yeah, but even at open mics, if they don't like what I'm doing, I have the ability to go, hey, what is happening here? Like this isn't audience and comic, it's person and people. Like, what's happening? And I found
this is you,
this
like
is my
bouncing
favorite
your
thing
mirror
now.
again.
Yeah, I love this more than anything. And look, if to my extent, I haven't seen anyone do this. If they have, amazing. It's the direction that open mics and you know all this stuff need to go in. But I've started doing this thing, and I love it because the comics like all lean forward and stuff, and I want this to be the direction. You know, my gift to whatever. But
You
I'll
start
be on stage.
dissolving it and
Yeah,
seeing
I'll be on stage, but I'll go like, hey, let's say I do a joke. It doesn't get a response. I go, that was an interesting response. Can I ask you guys, because like this is an open mic and we're collaborating, pre-frame the context.
Okay.
And then be like, hey, did this not work because of XYZ, or was it just not funny? Which gets a laugh, obviously, because it relaxes the tension.
Yeah.
But then I create this collaboration, and the audience then becomes instantly more invested, right? Because then they feel they've contributed. But you cannot do it on equal footing, because then it would just become like a back and forth. It encourages too much. So what I do is be like, hey, did that joke work because of this? Or did you guys not hear this particular line? And then I'll over-explain ad nauseum, right? But I'll over-explain every dynamic that they're not aware of. So I'll be like, hey, XYZ, okay, did this joke work? You know, like let's say, hey, you know, my dog got into my antidepressants and now he takes forever to come. Like a little one. And then I'll be go, oh, was that too dirty? Oh, because I preset that joke in there and I need you guys to think I'm a silly boy. And this one I put in here so I can do the dirty stuff later, but I forgot that bit there. And you guys were distracted because the bartender was doing that over there, which clicked at just the right time. And unfortunately, so that means it's like, this is not a bad joke. It's a fault.
How much are you doing this? I mean, this is meta-analysis.
I'll do it at
on
open mics,
stage.
but what it does is allows them to create the idea that they're contributing and collaborating, which is what any performance is. It's a collaboration. But at the same time, it establishes that I know a lot of what I'm talking about. So there's still the idea of like, oh, he knows what he's doing, but we're still involved.
Well,
so there's still the sense that I'm still running the show.
The idea of breaking the tension, that's a big deal, like when you're doing stand-up.
Well,
Breaking the
comedy,
tension.
I've realized that comedy is this collaboration.
Well, it's a building up of tension and then the relieving of the tension.
But when you get people coming up, this is the one you get all the time, like specifically for Australian crowds, but especially WA, you know, just the idea of the, you know, make me laugh. And there was
That's what I'm talking about.
There
like,
was this
if you come in
issue I
and
had.
do a meta-analysis of what exactly is going on in the room, that's got a lot of. I mean, that's a whole hour.
But
you can do that.
what I used to struggle with, and this was the part that was like my comedy. I felt like, or everyone, I was like, some people come to comedy to laugh, and other people come to comedy to feel better, which are two fundamentally different things. Because I can give you opportunities to laugh, but if you've had awful news or anything like that, I was like, what the pressure they're putting on us is so much. They're bringing their entire lives to this single, you know, instance where I'm meant to, and I went, I can never do that. And then now I built the self-worth enough where I went, yeah, it's impossible. but I should at least give it a crack.
Yeah.
And now I
How
approach
much of
it
that
from
do you think about when you're like on stage?
all
When
the
you're
time.
about to go on?
This is what the ADHD show is like fully brought me into. I
Uh-huh.
go, hey, how can I do it? Because you have the people going, make me laugh. And I go, mate, like, I have to ask, do you think I can control emotions? Because if I could, I wouldn't be doing this. That would be a superpower,
Right.
right? At the end of the day, I give you opportunities to laugh and you decide, because at the same time, as much as you go make me laugh, I bet you're the exact type of person who goes, no one tells Davo what to do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Which is like, great.
If this guy makes me laugh,
Yeah.
then he wins.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when the people go, no one tells, if they're that mindset, I
Right.
go, great. So you are the only one that can tell Davo to laugh. So you decide to laugh. But I can only give you opportunities. We're in a collaboration.
How do you present? That's quite confrontational, Colin. How do you present that in a way that keeps the rest of the audience on side?
Well, that's the thing. It's just if I'm saying it with a smile or presenting their argument and the level of absurdity. But then also class consciousness has been something so fun to build up right now.
Wait, class consciousness. How
Class
does that-
consciousness,
how does
getting
that get
everyone
into
on
it?
board, because getting everyone on board is creating the most simple message that you can get everyone on board with, right? So if I'm talking about, let's say, hey, a queer issue or whatever, there's going to be people who are on different ends of where they believe and stand, because unfortunately
Sure.
we don't have a decision over who's the regular mix. But what I can do is something like, I hate crowd work that's like, what do you do?
Right.
I always make jokes about, what do you do for work? Yeah, I may as well ask you like your most traumatic memory. Like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I going to riff 5 minutes on the time you saw a homeless guy on the train eat a banana, but he didn't take the peel off and he made eye contact the whole time? Like, that's terrible.
Right.
And I'm like, you guys came to support me as well. And I hate this idea of like, what do you do for work? Oh, that's gay. Kill yourself. I hate that so much. It's like, dude, they came. You can create something unique. So I'll ask the audience, you present options. I go, hey, do you want jokes or do you want to create like collaboratively something unique? Like something that you'll go, wow, remember that set? And they're always going to pick the latter because
If you present,
it's the mystery box, baby.
if you present it in that way, I mean, that's a lot of pressure on them all of a sudden. How do
but-
you present it
well,
in
I'm
such a
still
way
like-
that they're like, oh, yeah, I'm down for this. Cool.
Yeah, great. So
I'd
here's-
like to be a creative inventor.
No,
I mean,
so here's what you do. I go, hey guys, like I can just if I have to articulate it directly. Usually I won't. Usually the material's
Well,
getting
yeah,
there that
sure.
way. Well, but by saying to them, like, I hate when crowd work is in X, Y, Z. It implies that is bad, that they shouldn't want that, and then what I'm going to do later is different to that, which means it by the binary is better. Right? Because
Okay.
if I said this is bad, then whatever I'm doing is good. I do have to follow up with stuff that works. So I'm like, hey,
yeah, if you follow up with something
Yeah.
that isn't better.
so
you're
if I'm
kind
like,
of in the
hey,
shit.
like I don't want to ask you what you do for work because work, remember the thing you came here to forget about.
Right.
Why the fuck would I bring that up?
Right.
You know, and I've got jokes and stuff about that, but I'll go like, I want stuff that is interesting that we can create something from. So I'll be like, okay, like hypothetically, if you could kill any billionaire, no repercussions, who would it be? And I sit in that silence, something I never used to be able to do. Right,
Fine.
because
Sitting
that's
in
why
the
I was.
silence is a
That's
big
why
deal.
we have the. I was going so fast on stage
Mm.
because I didn't have the confidence that if I stopped and someone said this is shit, that would have ruined me.
Mhm.
And now if they go this is shit, I can go, okay, what do you want your comedy?
Don't
to
worry,
look
I think
like?
it's going quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when I do that, I sit in that silence after asking them that question, and I have never had an instance where within 10 seconds you don't start getting Elon Musk
Mm.
or Gina Reinhardt, blah, blah, and then all of a sudden
Mm.
everyone's going in, and then I riff with it and go, yeah, but we couldn't just kill him. We got to kill him in fun ways,
Mhm.
ways that are Gina Reinhardt. I'm like, give her the Temple of Doom, like.
So this is what you're talking about. Class consciousness is you get
Yeah.
everybody to pick an enemy that we could all get behind.
Yeah, it's just that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know? And when people try and bring up a division, you make them understand. Like, this is what I really like. It's tricky because at the same time, as you don't want to be the, straight white guy going to save the world, white knight or whatever. I'm like, yeah. But then everyone else is also like, hey, why aren't you using your privilege? And I'm like, okay, what better a situation than a guy who has spent his entire life finding the most effective and engaging ways to communicate large-scale ideas in a simple format with audiences around the country, if not the world, that are made up of every single conceivable mix of demographics.
Sure. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
top of politically minded, because my mother was incredibly intellectual and passed a lot of that on to me, and a unique understanding of community, society, the individual, because of this bizarre
Yes. You're very
upbringing with the
good.
cult.
Yes, you're very
So
clever.
how do I bring these things together to make people understand? And it's like when people go, I'm on this side or whatever, and they're saying this, they're saying this. But I guarantee if you asked any one of them, do you trust the media? They would say no, regardless of where they sit on the
Right.
fence.
Okay.
So then, hey, actually, we all agree that the media is dog shit, right? And then boom, everyone says yes. It's a yes anding. You get everyone saying yes.
Right.
Right? So it doesn't matter that, hey, you think this is happening, you think this is happening, because then I go, yeah. All right. So imagine, but the reality is I present like, hey, but you guys aren't idiots, right? And I don't like that these guys are telling you different things to keep you fighting. I think that's fucked. I think these guys are pieces of shit for doing that. And then that's how we get into it. And so anyway, it's
is this more towards the opening? Is this like where
no,
does this
I pepper
come
this
out?
through. I pepper this through. This is what I'm talking about. The stage presence being a lot closer to me. And so the part I wanted to bring up about specifically my evolution, I really found it frustrating that I could never, if not for like the briefest of moments, access what I can do off stage with people on stage. I could never do that. The material was limiting. It wasn't letting me be me, but also my self-worth wasn't letting me be me.
Can you do it now?
And so I give you an exact example, right? The best feedback I ever gotten, better than that, any reviews or whatever, I'm up at a gala, right?
Yeah.
I'm up at a gala and this was back in Perth, like Coburn, one that WA Comedy, my beautiful baby boy Ronan Freeburn runs.
Shout out to Ronan Freeburn.
For Side Splitter, incredible. We'll chat about him in a bit because he's the G, right? So I'm doing this set and they have an Auslan interpreter up there, right? And the set was going...
I love it when you get it.
Yeah, the set was going like so-so, right? It is what it is. I can feel the vibe. Coburn it's just south enough that you get some interesting dynamics in terms of age and everything. And I could look out and tell, and I was like, nah, these guys...
What time of year is this?
This is like September. Right?
Okay.
So it was good. It was like a whole, it was like 250, 300 people there. So I'm doing this bit and I'm joking around, just relaxing them to be like, hey, it doesn't matter if this stuff isn't working for you. I want you to have a good time. That's kind of the underlying thing, right? Especially, you know, if I go, hey, that doesn't work. But then you go, hey, but you know what would be crazy? What if we all managed to unify in a way that single-handedly made this one of your favorite comedy shows ever? And then you set that challenge and they go, oh, but could you do it? No, you can't. I go, no, of course I couldn't do it. But what if we could?
Hang on,
and it's a lot of we language. So like you build them up like that.
Wait a second. If you've got a group, you've got a bunch of Coburnians, and you've got this big like mix of demographics, and you've got a set that's kind of going like iffy so. Your choices are to either like go low, or go high and see who you can catch. You know, like lowbrow or highbrow, right? And you're going sideways. This is like meta.
So I'm talking with it, because I'm talking because when you're in something, whether it's a conversation, an argument, something you're impassioned about, a show, whatever, you're in it, and so you got to remove yourself. Whenever I had negative interactions or interactions where there's like hostility, I don't ask people like, "What are you doing?" I say, "Hey, where would you like this to go?" Because it removes them and they're forced to think. You ever notice how excited people get when you say, "Hey, if you won the lotto, what would you buy?" And they go, Oh my God! Instantly takes them out because you start thinking of all the things you. And I say,
just had this one recently. It's the phrase, "If you could wave a magic wand."
Yeah,
it's such a great phrase when you have stuff like that. Like you're doing a collaboration with somebody and you want it to go a certain way, and they want to go a certain other way.
Because a lot of times with hecklers, it's like, hold on, but you'll find with the answer, like you actually don't want to be here, and that's fine. Yeah. And I go, hey, I tell you, and then it's not a matter of like, hey, get out of here. It's like, hey, you came and support the arts. You're good. Even if you don't think you're good, or if you think this, I'm telling you right now,
just
you're
goodwill hunting.
You came to support, yeah. But in this interaction, right, the one that specifically, I'm up there joking, and the Auslan interpreter starts laughing, and in a fraction of a second, I just turned around, are you laughing? And I was like, you're the fucking best. I didn't think you could hear any of this, and the crowd, it was like so off left field that the crowd just went. Not only, you know, when you break a crowd, like not in a bad way. I see it as like the audience wants something and everyone's delivering kind of. And that's when I used to be like, put me on the end. They want a high energy act. So I can just and like get them. But the crowd starts, and then from then
like
on,
a tectonic plate, you can see the pressure and someone needs to just crack it. Yeah.
So then I get off stage and Ginger was like, that was the first time, my partner, she said, that was the first time I've seen you be you off stage, on stage. And I was like,
hey,
oh, that's good. That's so good. And now I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And now because the comedy was limiting because I used to be a high energy act. Like I talk about that. And I still am high energy, but on my schedule, like on my time. My energy I've understood to be something that I have that I can give to what I want. Not everyone is deserving of it. Right? Because my energy is like, this is the one thing, if anything, that I think people like you and I have. So why is everyone deserving of it though? If they aren't in the right headspace, or they're going to throw it back in my face as like, you're too loud or too this. And it's like, okay. But for the other people who see this, like I can build up people all the time. So I've realized like, how do I make it work like that? And now my stage presence is, we talk about the limitations of stand-up. If I went on stage and didn't go high energy because I'd established myself as a high energy act, the bookers would say, why aren't you trying? And I was like, it was just so frustrating because how come the low energy acts, no one says, why aren't you going high energy? How come the high energy acts, how come when I'm fitting in twice as many jokes because I'm speaking faster and have more act outs and stuff, I'm getting paid the same and I'm getting asked.
I said twice as many words as this other guy.
Yeah, but
Why
like
aren't I
twice
getting
as many
paid
jokes.
twice as much?
But then also, they never ask the low energy, oh, hey, if the high energy guy bombs, can you clean up? That's never been said.
Oh my God.
Never in my life.
That's right. Yeah, they
and
never.
I'm like, oh, Colin, we can't, like, of course you can headline because it's both 25 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But we need you to MC because you're the only high energy act. I'm like, all right. Now I say like, hey, I'm going to do a set, but if you want high energy, it's a $50, like you're paying extra.
Right.
Because I'm not going to come out unless like when the other acts are not. If they go, well, that's not the same. I go, no, I'm giving you the same as what the other people are. But now I'm giving you tiers of goods. Because why would I burn myself out for extra to force myself to be high energy? And
I
realized
get what you're saying now about who deserves it.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm high energy when I get excitable. So now I start from a place that I couldn't get to before because I couldn't sit in the stillness of like, hey, we're going to, and now I go, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I talk about at the beginning, you know, like I used to be a really high energy comic and stuff, knowing full well by the end, when I get him, like I'll be in that mindset. But it lets
Once they get there,
it
then
lets me build whatever. And if the crowd is really hot and up, then I am kind of instantly like that.
Sure.
You know?
I've
but it allows me
absolutely been there. I know that.
So it allows me to carry, and that's the kind of when I'm talking about the confidence in myself and my ability on stage, and that comes largely from the final iteration, not the final, but what I've learned most recently with the ADHD show and the natural way it progresses and ends. I'm like, hey, this is a condition where we are consistently ostracized because there are systemic factors that do not allow us to integrate, and so we know inherently on top of a high energy thinking everything in, it's an emotional issue. It's an emotional regulation issue at its core. A lot of people think it's the high energy, but I'm like, no, we don't produce the same amount of dopamine, which is the focus.
Wait, hang on. Before we go and like unpack all of like how ADHD functions like that, you already met, there's something I do want to go circle back to here. You were talking about the stillness, which is something I would really wanted to talk to you about is the where do you find stillness from? Are you a meditating guy?
I try to, but its consistency is a nightmare.
Yeah,
what I would say to every artist, this is something Wurzel told me years ago. A ritual before you go on stage.
West Australian comedian,
beautiful,
fabulous guy,
great man,
diamond
like
of a person.
a fucking reverend or a trained.
He's
in
like
3 different religions now.
Yeah. He collects dog tags.
Yeah, religious, but great guy. But we were talking about the nature of ritual.
Just did was in Emu War with
with Levon's, right? Yeah,
Levon's Emu War,
Levon J. Pulinelli, a great WA filmmaker.
Love Levon.
We're big Team Levon fans, right? So we were talking about the nature of ritual, and I started doing that before
Wurzel was talking about the nature of ritual.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So this is pre-show ritual.
Let's say you're an artist, regardless, but specifically for stand-up.
Let's say I'm an artist.
Let's say you're like not a person, but like an artist.
Yeah.
But specifically for comics. No, that was a line from the talk show.
I gotta share this. Hang on, this is really pretty fucking fabulous. I gotta share this thing. My on my fridge at home, I have a whole bunch of those, various words that you can use to make sentences. Okay, little magnet things. And I have this thing really struck a chord with me when I saw it. So my daughter wrote on the fridge. She's 11. She wrote on the fridge, "I love you, Dad, because you are funny." Oh, no, I love you, Dad, comma, you are funny. And there was no magnet that said funny. But there was one for happy, and there was one for fun. So she took happy and covered it over with funny. So that I was like, oh, how did she make funny? And I untook it. Oh.
My heart.
Happy. No happy. Funny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I get that.
Does that work for you?
But she said it wasn't because. That's a very different sentence.
Yes,
I love you, Dad.
I had to take that one out.
Yeah, because the because is a different thing. That's the pressure.
I think she was just trying to build me up, Buttercup.
Oh no, that's adorable. Yeah, that's
she's
really
a lovely
sweet.
one.
But so the nature of ritual is incredibly useful because it sets you into a common state because you unify all the experiences before and it kind of averages it out. So whether you're up, whether you're down, if you go into a ritual, it is going to click you back into all the other times you've done it, right? Which I find is useful because on average, as you get better and better, your gigs are going to, on average, to be good, right? So if you're in a weird headspace or whatever, a ritual lets you do it. And the ritual I make up of 2 things.
Yes,
it's
let us know.
physical movements. right? So one is just one that I found to activate the body as best as I can, which is like opposite knee to opposite hand twists, right? And then, big breaths in, getting me all the way up. But what I'm saying internally is everyone likes you and wants to be around you. And internally that the crowd has come to support you. They just want an opportunity to laugh. You don't need to make them laugh. They just want an opportunity. And you love them for giving you that opportunity to do the thing you love. And even if they don't love you, you still love them. And you make that love undeniable.
It's a privilege, boys.
Within 30 seconds, like I will go from to like, yeah, go on. All right.
Yeah.
And so that's been good.
That was some very friendly Geordies-ish coming out of your mouth just now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It takes me out of my emotional state to say, hey, what is this interaction kind of for?
Right.
And so I encourage everyone to do that because it locks you in. Once I start doing that, no matter where I am, now I've come into like a base state that I've created.
How long have you been doing ritual?
I would say 6 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, before pretty much every show.
Yeah.
Stand-up shows, definitely. And if I have time and I don't forget from shows and stuff, but stand-up shows definitely, and it just is noticeably changed.
Well, there's a thing. I mean, whenever you have like an ensemble cast, or you've got, we have in the adults only magic show, it's like me and now 3 other guys. And we have, the ritual. When you've got a group of people, you get that ritual.
One for the group. Yeah. You either have your back for like improv guys and stuff.
Whatever they do. Yeah,
it works. Yeah.
But when you're on your own,
that's the thing with stand-up. How do
you could feel a bit silly.
How do I foster that in myself?
Yeah. What does that look? Because you're doing a bespoke ritual for one person.
Yeah.
And the only person that can write it is you.
Yeah.
And it's oftentimes going to be. You really have to have
a
certain level of confidence.
Yeah. Are you asking how do you do something for you without feeling foolish?
Yeah. Well, I know now, but it's a really difficult place to get to.
Of course. Yeah. The same reason that my partner doesn't like to sing, in public.
Right.
Because we're just, but you have to ask yourself, well, then who is telling you this? Like when I work, I do support work, right? And I love what I've figured out this core role to
You do
be.
support work?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You do support? What sort of support work do you do, Colin
I have
Ebsworth?
beautiful clients, which is why I can't do the full run of the festival. I feel so bad leaving them for longer than like a week and a half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a beautiful.
I've heard some of your
old Italian boy.
God.
I got a young kid with cerebral palsy. It's the
Your
best.
young cerebral palsy guy apparently is one of the funniest
he is
motherfuckers in the universe.
So good, and I love the impact that like you can see when they like feel safe and like and want to. Because he's the best. It's just. So good, but like I'll be like, hey, I'm a bit nervous about tonight's show. I haven't done like a straight stand-up set in ages, and he's like, is that because you usually do gay stand-up? And I'm like, cunt, that is solid. That is good. That is great. Just he's like that. He feels confident enough to kind of make those jokes. Obviously, they're tap jokes, and I'll be like, that's hilarious, but don't. But as opposed to like, you fucking want to go like,
But this is tapping back into what you were talking about before. Is how funny you are when you're just with your friends, when you're just being you, when it comes straight.
And so it took me how do I find mechanisms to get me closer to where I am on stage? And so that was building myself up to become that safe entity in space, which allows me to care less about if they don't like me. Because the fear is if I do something and the audience goes, we don't like you. And now I go, hey, can we figure that out? Like what happened with that there? Was it because of this? And that instantly makes them go, oh, he's not doing it at us. He's doing it with us. And that is art.
That is because
if no one perceives it, then art is just for you.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that people are here, I'm doing it with them. And once you make that collaborative and understand that it has to be collaborative in the idea that people say, once you create art and put it out into the world, it's no longer yours. There's variations on this, but the bottom line is people are coming. Otherwise they would, you would be, you'd be a memory. The fact that you're here doing it now. Yeah. It's like, no, this is.
So has your support work, has that informed that for you?
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
much? Like,
so the support work.
Give me a percentage here. Like, what sort of
the ADHD show, and then it tied in because it's that thing of life will give you the lessons until you're ready to receive them. Like I didn't understand that life.
Listen to the whisper.
Yeah, that life was telling me to do support work for the longest time. I was doing support. I didn't realize it was support work. I didn't have a name for it. I thought I was just taking my manager's niece who had a cognitive impairment out for exercise twice a week.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, no, it's not. Oh, volunteering. I was like, no, I'm just hanging out with, this refugee kid going fishing or whatever. I didn't understand what I was doing. And so I spent an extra 10 years longer than I need to in front of a fryer for less than half the wage that I make doing this. If you do support work, it's the best. Do not go through a company. Always go sole trader private because you get to charge the same amounts as the company without then taking a massive cut for no reason.
Man, we're going to get a lot of really informative
support
reels
work.
out of this one.
Support
like
work
the
is
right
the best.
straight down the barrel, like life advice from Colin Ebsworth. If you're a support worker, make sure you
go solo.
Get solo.
I'm on 55 an hour now.
Hey!
And as much as it's very easy for me to go, you know what, do I deserve 50? I'm going, no, but these companies, like a Silver Chain or whatever, is charging the maximum they can and then giving you their little cut. But then what's more, I go, this job is so easy. Like I'm just sitting drinking Italian coffee, playing crosswords. I have to take a step back and go,
man, that
no,
cerebral palsy kid has got some weird taste.
Yeah. No, okay. Well, at the same time, I go, hey, no, is that the case or am I underselling it? Because it does require, you are on the whole time. It does require me to, I'm not just there, maybe helping them change or something. I'm building these people up. And that's what I've learned from the ADHD show. I was like, oh, okay, I can view this as this crutch, or I can view this as like, at the end, I talk about what's the point in having all this extra energy if I can get to the finish line and I'm alone.
Well, hang on. You're talking about like being on the entire time. So is this,
What by
when
being
you're
on,
Is this what I mean? Like, is this
no,
really
I
a
don't, sorry,
mask
I don't
off
mean
scenario?
on. I don't mean on. That's fair. I don't mean on in the sense of like I'm doing a character. I mean on as in I'm paying attention. I'm focused. I'm giving them emotional energy because as much as it's easy to say, no, you're doing great, how heavily and how much I do that to build these people up. Like it is a job. And I realize now, hey, I do deserve, the rates that I'm charging, because you have this feeling, oh, do I really get it? No, it's the funnest.
You do.
It's the funnest job.
Because nobody else can pay attention
what I'm
to
saying.
80 different metrics at the same time.
It's the funnest job because I have fun doing it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like it would be very easy to just take these guys to the shops, do their groceries or whatever. But you're never going to have the experiences I've had, which is like my younger client walked for the first time. He's wheelchair bound. And that was only because we had to do 4 months of stretching because of muscle contraction. And I mean, it's in pain. And I was the only one that could do it because the level of pressure it takes to stretch his legs out requires like a grown man. Right? But then even more, I went,
Wait a second, you're a grown man.
Yeah, but I'm a boy.
Holy shit.
But even more, just this idea of like showing him the way that I think and laugh and stuff. I mean, he was like, I didn't think you'd be into, and I'm like, what, you don't think because I'm what, 6'1", you don't think I'm into Star Wars? You don't think I play Magic the Gathering? Like he like couldn't imagine it. And then when I went home, like
show me your 40K figure.
Yeah,
bitch.
exactly.
Yeah.
I used my creative brain. I made him this machine that would let him stretch out his legs by himself. And it was just like a passion project. But like I put, a bar with 2 dumbbell weights on the side, a pole running down the middle with like a T-joint, and then another pole up here. And a pole coming out. So you put weights on here, and then he can stretch out his legs as he's going.
Dude.
And I showed someone this, and they're like, are you going to patent that? Like, that's incredible. And I was like, no, it's just something for him. But then didn't say his name. Then showing him that, he was like, you did that for me? And I was like, yeah, of course, you're my guy. Like, he can't imagine that. And then
I didn't learn to weld so I could make artistic sculptures. Are you going to patent this device?
Yeah.
When you get a machine like that, when you've got the opportunity to patent something, what you want is just for everybody to have it. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. And what I love, like,
you can't stop thinking about it.
As
right?
a kid,
you go
I
home.
used to take everything apart. I loved electronics. I didn't have the support to kind of do it. Like,
Sure.
I think we have
Moonies hate electronics.
Yeah, we have unending ideas, but without the ability to actually do it. Like I could never. Like I'll give you an example.
You've got to have that support network.
One time
you're just throwing shit at the wall.
Well, yeah, one time in year 3, we had like a little create an obstacle course with a marble, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote this crazy, incredible thing.
Yeah.
That was impossible to do in the time frame, but also had no structural supports in it. So like, but now as an adult, I can go, oh, hey, how
That's
do
such a great analogy for like what we're doing. Like,
yeah, how do I
we make
just
this
get
amazing
enough
thing
that I
with
can
no support?
Yeah, you don't reach out 100%. You go just 1%. 1% bigger. 1%, I try a new joke that's 1% outside of what I would usually do. And then if it works or if it doesn't, you still get the knowledge from that. And you're gradually increasing your comedic sphere of understanding or your performance. more and more, and it's the same with life. But what I realize is I'm an ideas guy. That's what I like. I like
Yeah,
to
that's what we do.
I like
We're
to.
yeah.
That's how I approach comedy. It was
Yeah.
problem solving, and now I'm like, hey, I'm relentless ideas, which is why stand up is limiting. That's one of the big things.
Right.
Because there's a limit to how many ideas I get. Because it's not
this
like I'm
meta
just doing
thing that
stand
you're
up.
talking about, like taking it apart and like just showing the internal structure of it to the audience
Yeah.
and seeing if they can get involved. I mean, that's
Because
got a lot
that
of legs.
both
That's
that
really
both
interesting.
implies because when you say a joke and then you go that doesn't work, then it instantly breaks the idea that this is spontaneous conversation.
Right.
But then when I go, well, here's all the individual parts. Can we make something new? Then they're seeing something new. You know, they're seeing me build something in front of them, right? That they're a part of.
So does this when this happens? I mean, there's a break there, right, where you say, okay, stop the tape, take it apart. Here's what you're looking at.
Yeah,
right?
and then they
you show it
instantly
to
go
them.
like, "Oh, this is different to what we thought."
And from then on, are you improvising that? How does that
no.
work?
So then you can weave in and out, but like it's the level of like permission they give me for what their level of comfort is.
Mm.
If I get a crowd that is like the ADHD crowd, which is like a 90-10 split, you know, of people diagnosed, I can run with it big time. Like the other night, we had
Wow, I
people.
love that.
We had people chanting crazy stuff, you know, once because we had some tech issues and stuff. So I'm having to like remember slides and bring it, but it was all working. And then if it's a less crowd, like I'll do that. But yeah, what I've learned from the support work in conjunction with this ADHD show is like, oh hey, that's my thing. I feel best when I'm creating, when I'm ideas, and when I'm like helping support people. Like why have this energy? Why have this emotional acuity? Whereas much as I didn't pretend to be a character when I was growing up because I was a silly boy. I was doing that character because the world around me was so loud emotionally. It was an emotional.
Sure, yeah.
And it hurt so much when I was closer to the surface about who I am when they rejected that. So I had to step back and do this character.
Your
And now
sense
as
of
I've-
injustice is just getting bounced
Yeah,
off
and
everything
so now-
around you. Your
yeah,
own
and I-
personality
Yeah.
is, yeah.
So it's the whole
abrasive.
thing, you know, that joke where it's like the internet trend where like you're dating someone with ADHD or just in general where you watch the beginning of the movie and then by the end it's like, you already know.
Oh, yeah.
It might ruin so many movies with my partner. I just got to be quiet now.
Mhm.
But even like when I'm working with support, anyone, I just say something, energy's changed. Hey, did I do and I've gotten really, and people go, it's like it's magic. And I go, no,
Yeah.
it's not. But
Yeah, it's not telepathy.
Here's the thing.
We're just paying attention
If
to
we-
a lot of stuff at the same
if
time.
we're taking in all the information and that
Mm.
is the crux or that is the issue when people say, oh, you're so distractible. It's like, okay, well, how can there's also benefits to it, right? It's
yeah,
the double-edged
absolutely.
sword of everything. But the emotional, like I can feel as someone feels.
But learning to be able to communicate that inner.
That's the part
Mono-
because
that
the
is-
communication,
gotta
it's
do that.
putting out a hand to say like, hey, do you feel like this? And can we feel like this together? And we're so used to that hand getting chopped or bitten off.
Oh,
that
for
it's-
sure.
But now I've learned the confidence in myself so that when I go, hey, you feel it? And they go, no, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, you sure? Because I'd really like you to feel heard or seen.
Right.
Can you help me get there? Like, because this is like, that's what I've realized. It's a relentless
Aw.
support.
Aw.
It's not a, I'm just trying on the surface. I'm like, I am going to get you. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you like a fucking,
Emotional jaws.
like a fun dad with 100 gifts when no one said happy birthday on your birthday. I'm coming for you, cunt.
Oh, yeah.
And what I say in the show, and this
You
was
get to
something I
Robin
used to-
Williams, the Goodwill
yeah,
Hunting.
I used to get really frustrated about this because I was like, I couldn't stop me if I tried. What fucking chance do you have? And now I've realized that it's that.
Yeah.
What's the point of this energy if I am alone? When instead I can do loops and make sure everyone gets where they need to
Sure.
go. What's the point in having this emotional articulate? And I can pick them out in the crowd. It's the easiest thing. I'll be like, that person right there. I do it just to. It's almost like a little mentalism thing. I'll be like, you don't know how much I can hear. You don't know how much, like you right there, I can tell you're picking your nails. You saw the vape is like the outline of my vape in my pocket. I can tell that you guys are in a relationship where she's diagnosed and you're not, which is why she's grabbing your hand because she's like, hey, this is what I've been trying to explain. And I couldn't
Yeah.
have the words. I can see when the old boys start going because they realize, hey, Roger might have had this and he would still be around today if we had have understood this more.
Right.
Like I can tell it all. It's all there and it's always all been
Yeah.
there. It's just the world is incredibly
This-
loud and finding my purpose through support work and that because I almost didn't do support work. This will be the next show.
Oh, we get you back on to do part
Well, I
two.
mean, I can tell you about where that because I know as much as this is like I can say quite confidently this is the best thing I've done so far. but I
The
know the
support
next
work,
show.
yeah?
Oh, sorry, my ADHD show in terms of performing.
Oh,
But I
right.
know what the next show will be. I almost didn't get into support work because I viewed it as it would be too much. And I'm aware what that too much was.
Sure.
That was my emotional too much. But a beautiful, incredible man, Hayden Stevens, who unfortunately has passed away, was a comic in Perth. And we knew each other, but we were not like hanging out or anything. There was always a level of distance, at least that I was feeling, because he was quadriplegic, right? He had muscular dystrophy and he was in a wheelchair, but he was nice. And he didn't get
Some of them are.
He didn't. Well, he didn't get. He was nice to me. Like he didn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, just like any comic. When someone's nice to me, I'm like, oh, you're the best.
Right.
You're instantly not. You gave.
Oh, right. You know, if somebody gives you some sort of praise. Oh,
but
my God, this is great.
He messages me out of the blue about 2.5 years ago, and he says, "Hey, I really like what you're doing with the talk show." And I think he was specifically talking about, you know, those Colin's Corner type endings and things. And he said, "Hey, I've got a request. Like, would you be open to doing me a favor?" I said, "Yeah, what?" And he goes, "Can you MC my funeral?"
Whoa!
Because he was 40 and he has to plan for those kind of things because
Holy
he's lived
shit.
so much further. And I said, like, of course, not from like what a gig, you know, but like, what am I going to say no? He's trusted me with something so incredibly important.
Yay,
That's the
right.
thing. It's like, you trust me. If you were like, hey, can you raise this baby till you're 18? I'm like, you would trust me with a child? Not like, oh, what a burden. I'm like, oh, you believed in me. I'll never let this.
Right, yeah.
And so I did it. And then through that whole experience of then, you know, getting really close with him and going to hang out and being like, man, we like all the same bands. We love all the same comedy and movies, and having these experiences and being like, oh, what I perceived to be this disconnect was just how much it hurt to see people suffer. You know, so when I see someone in a wheelchair who maybe has a condition where they're maybe got dribble or their arms aren't functioning, it hurt too much. It was their presence was too loud a thing where I went, and then I found a way to ingratiate myself with it. I found a way to be okay. And that way to be okay was what Hayden always used to say, is different, not less. And so if it wasn't for Hayden, I wouldn't be doing the support work. And so, yeah, that was where I kind of went, hey, is this something? And just like every other instance in life where I'd been like, I don't think this is it. But is this where there's a difference between no, I do not want to do this, and I'm afraid to do this. And this was an I'm afraid to do this.
Definitely what
Just
it was.
like
You
the
can tell
ending-
that now. Right?
Yeah, just like the ending of the talk show, then the cult show, then the ADHD, and then whatever I'm doing. I go for the thing now I've learned, and it's just through repetition, the thing that I am afraid of, not afraid of, the thing that I'm afraid to let people see, because historically I've been told that's not what they like. That's going to hurt me if I do that.
Well, that you've
That's the
raised
thing.
ADHD, that's what happens to you.
Yeah, and so that's what I go to now. And so anyway, the next show I'm thinking I got to pick the name because it's either Who Cares Wins, which I love, but only because I'm a massive 90s fan, but also care work and support work have different. So I'm thinking Tuesdays with Tony, which would be nice. That's my
yeah.
and just the stuff that it's incredible. Just
Breakfast
this,
with Algernon.
Yeah, this job is so amazing. I mean, I really get sad thinking about the time where I'm going to have to not do that job. But I think I found it.
Wait, hang on. What do you mean?
I mean,
the
I'd love
time
to
when
do
you're
it
like-
forever. But like, if I move, or if something happens with them, or if one of them passes away. I mean, Hayden died from COVID.
Oh,
Hey,
man.
That's the part that kills me, man. Like when we talk about it was him. He was the herd immunity. Like he's who we were doing that for.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. When people start talking about, oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
that's
especially comics in
why-
the scene. And I'm like, well, who would have a strong opinion about this? Exactly. And you can never know that now.
Yeah.
Because you weren't even at the fucking funeral,
Yeah.
but you're running on your little podcast talking about it.
Yep.
So the next thing, it'll be about support work and kind of what I've learned. And I realized like the cult one was just more about belonging and why we do the things we do. The ADHD one is the acceptance and crystallize it. It's as much for me as it is for audience, because every time I do this show, it reaffirms like you have this relentless responsibility to use what these powers are. This what's the point of being able to be like, I can tell exactly how much you're getting into this right now, because for the first time you haven't been able to want to go say something. This is resonating too much with your core, right? Okay,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? I can tell, and then to be able to push and have that energy. Because you think the support clients just go, oh, you know what? You said it once, and now I believe you. No, it's years of building them up and building them up.
I want to know But when you were talking earlier about it being you were afraid to do it because it would be too emotionally big. It's too large of a thing.
Yeah, because
so when you went
what I
into
found is the middle ground between when I was young and went, oh my God, I'm going to do this. Here's the massive ideas. And I could never do it, which hurt my belief because I didn't have support. But also they were
was that
too
the
big.
fear or that lack of
No,
confidence?
that
Is it
was
the same thing?
That was the lack of understanding. Because like I would be like, wouldn't it be great if there was a machine like this? Okay, great. I'm going to take apart a fridge and it'll figure. I can't put it together. Like I can't.
Right.
Now I'm just getting enough where I'm understanding just how to do it. So I'm pushing 1% further in that direction of fear each time. But then also the more I do that and the more it works and reinforces and helps people around me, that's why I'm like, oh, hey, it's not just me saying it. It's everyone around. Like I have to be on the right track. And so that's canceling out those two things. My ability to do it, like my actual abilities to do something are being, hey, trust that I'll get there. If I just take these little steps, and then each time that works and reinforces that, hey, you should be doing this. So it's not just what you can do, but why you should be doing it.
What is it that makes you know that you should? I mean, there's got to be something reinforcing it in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what it is like what I feel like if a kid is walking, and I've got a video like on a treadmill.
I mean, that's fairly good. That's
something.
pretty good.
If
evidence
parents and
right there.
kids and people are coming up after these shows going like, thank you so much. If the shows are selling out, I've
That's
never
a pretty
had
good
runs
indicator,
like
sure.
this.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking like, the nature of
So
awards
I'm so
and everything.
glad that you made this change. Like,
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about earlier.
Well,
like
that's
when you went into the culture.
Yeah, the
Like,
limitation, because
do
the big
this.
thing with the cult show, and again, massive lessons from each of them, but the big thing from the cult show was we focus on 2 out of the 3 essential questions when we look to understand, right? We have what you believe.
Whoa. Wait, hang on. That's very big. But
Yeah,
when
and I'll
we
go
seek,
through it.
when we seek
When
to
we seek to
understand,
understand. So let's
we
say
look
we
at
take
3 essential questions.
we only look at 2 of the 3.
Oh,
We look
okay.
at what you believe,
Right?
why you believe it,
Right?
which we think are like, hey, this is what I think, and these are all the reasons. And we don't look at the third one, which
What's
is
the third one?
why you would want to believe it.
Right.
And those are very
You're going to
different
have to unpack
questions.
that one.
So let's say I believe that Reverend Moon is the leader of the entire world and he's going to save us all, right? I believe that because that's what the scripture
Fairly
text
topical.
says.
Yeah.
Why would I want to believe that? Because I need to believe that I am part of something bigger because I've never been made a part of something. I have never had this. I want and so feel inclined to
Right.
drive to this. You can appear like just like me when people say, oh, he's confident, charismatic and stuff.
Yeah.
You would just assume, oh, well, he's doing that because of this. No, why would I want to? And so if we take any belief, we need to address that because it allows you to address your biases.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to address what the underlying reasons for things are because no man does what is evil to him, which means in every instance, we are going to justify what we do as inherently good because why would you want to believe something then has to be good?
Well, this is something that's very interesting when you talk about cults. Is people generally are rational, self-interested actors, right? You're talking game theory here and the way human psychology works.
At its most
people-
primal, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
do
the
people
bigger.
get involved? Like you look at a cult from the outside and you go, that's ridiculous. Why would somebody, absolve their own agency in such a way? But from where they're sitting,
No,
that makes
and
sense.
the thing is, we do exactly the same thing. My parents would have just as easily ended up, being big into the tennis society of Australia, or whatever. Anything that gives them a sense of welcome. But cult specifically, just like stand-up specifically, because it's made of all the misfits. There's a lot less.
Yes.
So let's take it more recently to like edgy comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Edgy comic comes on stage and goes, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why? What do they believe? I believe that I am speaking truth to power, right? Why do they want to believe that? Or why do they believe that? Because I'm making people feel uncomfortable and edgy. And those are all the metrics by which we associate with speaking truth to power. Why would I want to believe that? I have to believe that I am speaking truth to power because if I'm not, I'm just a regular
being a dick.
hat comic, just being a dick.
Yeah.
And what does that say about my own personal psyche and what I want to bring to the world and the fear that I have, which is why none of these guys are ever doing stuff that would actually, they're always like, oh, fucking trans. Also, the booker at the back is paying women significantly less than men. What's that about? No, because that's going to have real repercussions.
I love that there's so many comics that are just impersonating just for those 3, fucking trans.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I
we've all
love
seen
it's the
those
dynamic
comics.
like, hey, so you going after a minority means that by the rational, like by the transitive property, not the transitive property, sorry, by if we go the binary,
Good choice of words.
you making fun of a minority, whether it's trans,
Yeah.
women, whatever. doesn't-
Whoever it is.
Then by logic, you are in or echoing the sentiment of the majority, which means you aren't speaking truth to power. You
No.
are just saying what the majority of people think.
It's well, I mean, you're just picking on people because
Yeah.
not
And so you
because
ask
you don't have
people
any
like-
material.
Like there's
yeah.
a comic I know who loves joking about something that's a bit hectic, right?
Yeah.
Not a bit just like weird people in society, like, psychopaths and serial killers and stuff. And I was like,
Okay.
hey, why do you've been doing these kind of material for like years now? You're really interested. Why? And then they'll go, because it's funny. And I go, no, but why is it funny to you? And they go, because it's funny. I go, okay, so that's where the wall comes up. And that's this Fermi thing we're talking about. Because when you start addressing, hey, why does it actually? I bet you'll find out about the nature of like, hey, how does it feel when a person makes other people feel the way that they have been made to feel, which is what edgy comedy has become now.
Yeah,
the
that's what you
frustration
could-
that has been placed on
Yeah.
like, specifically straight young white men to say, hey, in your entire life, you can only be matter. You can only matter by what you can create and give to society, by being a hero, by doing these incredible things. But we realize now that not only are the idea of heroes wrong, so you can't attain that, because we've seen from consistent, wars in the
Right.
Middle East and stuff that actually the gun guys aren't the heroes. So they're trying to aspire to be something that is no longer even possible by the definitions in the world we live in, because we have such an expanded context and understanding. And then what's more, then they're being told, hey, they perceive it as like, oh, you have all these benefits. So they're saying like, we've been told we have all these leg ups. I'm not getting these leg ups. I can't even get to the point that society is telling me to be. I want you to feel how frustrated I feel, which is the
So
power.
I'm going to talk about a bunch
Which
of
is
stuff.
of the ooh, I got an ooh reaction,
Right.
and it's this thing of like, I feel this. What does your headache feel like? And they go, it feels like that.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do, because their desire to connect is so strong, but it is so hindered by their low self-worth.
They don't have the self-awareness
they
to know
don't-
that that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but also what they're looking for connection, but their connection is through comedy. But then they've misunderstood that relationship. I want to connect with the audience, great, but I can't do it from a position of vulnerability, because in every instance before, I've been taught that that's bad or
Right.
wrong or going to be thrown back in my face. So then they have to force, and you cannot force vulnerability.
If you're doing that thing where you're saying I want to connect with you, so I want you to feel like I feel, and I feel shit.
And the trick is, you have to try and feel how they feel.
That's the thing. Well,
That's the flip side.
yeah,
So we talk about like
if
for,
the
for
audience
creativity.
knew what they want, they would they'd
yeah,
be the artist.
we talk about like
to quote
creativity.
Alan Moore.
You need an input of information to create something, because
Yeah.
what we can make is only based on what we know. So how are you growing? That's the thing. Like I can put in a bunch of new info and write jokes about it, but the emotional growth is the thing that's actually let me get better as a performer. And that's the part that I would love to see, more comics getting into. Because that's what I think, like, that's what I want to be doing. And then when they talk about the sacred clowns or that, I'm like, that's what this is.
Yeah.
That's what, that's why clowning takes years and years at these. It's not just, haha, I'm being silly. No, you have to break down everything you were and then build it back up and figure it out from scratch. And that's a traumatic process. But that is, essentially therapy for the arts.
I didn't think that we would get to a sacrament by the end of this conversation, Colin, but I think that we did. I think we've definitely got the most number of words in an hour so far. You've done an incredible service.
WPH is through the roof.
Boom! But we are. I'm afraid that we're out of time. Clearly, you and I could keep going on this
I
for a
look
very
forward to
long
it.
time.
I can't wait.
You want to go do a number 2?
Yeah, definitely.
so to speak. Yeah. But
Not the first time I've taken a shit on this stage. I tell you that much.
hey, ba-da-ba-ba-da.
No, it's actually, this is pretty good. I like the guys that run it. It's good.
Yeah.
This is a good venue.
Yes. Mwah, mwah.
Break the fourth wall? No,
Thank
we
you.
blew it out. Oh, can
Thanks,
we turn the
Matty
cameras?
Gray.
That's a
Mwah.
great riff.
Colin, you're
Touch me.
fabulous.
You're a good man. And thank you
Mwah.
to the boys for bringing this up. Justin and you, this was a treat. I've been wanting to do this for the longest time.
Onwards to victory. Now, look, if you're not yet subscribed, you got to subscribe. Go and make sure you watch this on the YouTubes. We're on the Spotify. So go tell your friends, tell your mom. If you mail us, we'll send you a sticker. You want a sticker? We'll get you a sticker.
I do want to.
Of
Yeah,
course you want a fucking. Yeah, we'll get you one for
I
your.
do. Yeah.
One for your
I
laptop.
want
One
a
for your
sticker,
water bottle.
yeah.
We're gonna get you. We'll get you a fucking sticker.
Is it shiny?
Yeah. Yeah. Get those producer. Get on the goddamn shiny stickers immediately. Folks, you've been listening to the incredible Colin Ebsworth, and boy, oh boy, man, we're going to do some shit on this one. Man, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, be like Tone, subscribe to the Patreon, and that way you'll get pictures of nipples. I can't remember talking about pictures of nipples after we've had such an in-depth, like, emotional conversation.
That's okay. We need to
Yeah.
vent and we need to pull back out.
Hi there.
That's what's
Hey,
happening.
how you
That's all
doing?
that's happening.
Yeah.
We're going this, and now we have to realize that we have to be a silly boy. But this is a great podcast, and it's run by really good people. So I hope you guys get on board. The
Isn't he a
scene
darling?
entirely relies on
Yeah.
support from you, and these guys want to support you
Oh!
right back.
Here you go. There we go. Hey,
Yes.
stickers. Attaboy. You did great. Look at this. You got a 5-star review
Grazie.
and 2 stickers today. Well
this
done.
is nice. I like
Hey.
this. This is good.
Mwah. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary pals, get an absolute giant hoagie into you because you deserve it. Please be nice to each other, and you smell good, you look good. That's the end of the show, folks. We'll see you next time for Onwards to Victory. Hey, oh yeah, did it.
Don't you know we all cheer for Magnus Danger D?
They asked me for a party trick, and this is what I thought.
Am I doing it?